What's up, bro? How are you?
Good.
Get that thing closer to you a little bit if you don't mind. There you go.
Good.
Yeah. Don't be scared of it.
Fat boy leaned back in his chair.
So, man, you pretty much reconstructed this whole damn block we're sitting in.
Yeah.
I mean,
pretty much.
The room we're in, did you do this one too?
Yeah, we did this one. We did this one off the books, and then it finally found on the books. It's kind of been the way we move around here. It's just as fast as we can get it, man. I mean, it's been a ride. It's been fun, and we're still not done yet. We got 7 tap coming in.
Yeah, I know.
So,
what? How did you get into this? Like, take me all the way back. Like, where does this come from?
15 years old, high school dropout.
Okay.
Daddy said, if you're gonna live here, you're gonna get a job.
Why'd you drop out?
It's never much to be kept in a room with anybody like this right here.
Yeah.
Sitting in a room with you now, you don't keep me held up for an hour. But no, man, I don't know. I think ever since I was a kid, I just hyper, brain like all over the place. It's probably why I do halfway decent, trying to be as humble as I can, halfway decent in what I do.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I look at everything from all different angles. So I stay a nervous wreck. But in all that, I don't know, I think it helps you think more creatively. I'll give you, for instance, we're doing the P-row. Bo's like, hey, I want to take in the back there. And this is after 2 awnings crashed. I was like, why don't you let me build you something that'll actually like stand up,
Yeah.
So we had snowpocalypse, that awning fell.
Yeah.
I cleaned it up for him. And we got back there and we had a set amount in budget, and he was like, I want to put an AC in here. Okay. I said, but you want to keep the look. Yeah, well, the spray foam, and the spray foam guy was going to be like $13,000 come in and spray foam it. Well, then you don't keep the look of the P-row.
Yeah.
You have the trusses, and I was like, man, just do it. I was like, nah, man, give me a day. I said, I'll figure something out. I went home, and it hit me at like 10 o'clock that night. Call your metal guy, strip the metal, put shop insulation on it, lay all the metal back down, reseal everything, keep the look. So it comes in handy being a little scatterbrained every now and then, because you find a way to work for your clients, which are now my friends, my family, and really turn out a good product and kind of keep their dream flowing the same way. But 15, dropped out of school, didn't like it, didn't want to be in it. Daddy would drop me off, and I'd hit the front door and hit the back door, and I was gone. And Mama wanted me to stay in. I didn't want to. It was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
Walked on a job site and asked the man for a job, and he'd give me a job wrecking forms, and I couldn't tell you the difference between a 2x6 and a 2x8 when I walked on. So
wrecking forms, you're talking about like concrete forms.
Yeah.
Like once they're done, you break them off.
Absolutely.
That's what in summer, me and a buddy used to do that for a builder. That's what we did.
Yeah.
We did that and
It's
spray
fun.
off the roads and shit.
It's
Clean up
fun.
after the contractors.
Yeah, it's fun. So funny story about that. I went up, at 15, you think you got to dress nice for a job.
Yeah.
So I got some pretty decent clothes on, and I walk out there. And it's a buddy of mine's dad, Charles Hall, Bubba Hall. His dad was Charles Hall Sr. His dad was a very prominent builder here in town. Did, multi-million-dollar houses like one a year.
Gotcha.
Southern Trace, Long Lake. Back when the traffic circle came in, like we started building, that's when I started building.
Gotcha.
So, it's been a while. I walked up out there. I'm like, hey, man, I want a job. Bubba told me to come ask his dad. So he's like, okay. I was like, well, let me go to the house, change clothes. He's like, no, you leave, don't come back. And he gave me a wrecking bar. If you know anything about post-tension cables, they have the clamps, and they got the holes drilled through the 2x12. Then you got all your dirt, your beam diggers are thrown over the edge, and you overpour your concrete and all this stuff, right? And your stakes.
Yeah.
And he gives me a wrecking bar and he tells me, don't chip my brick shelf. I don't know what I'm doing, and he gives me no coaching all day long. And I'm out there, dude, I'm sweating, I'm cramping. I've got no clue what I'm doing. At the end of the day, he walks up. He says, if you'll undo this clamp and pull the nails on these stakes and pull them out and take this shovel and remove this dirt, you can pull this 16 foot up at a time. He just wanted to see if I had it in me.
Yeah. Yeah, he just wanted to test the waters there before he wasted any more time giving you any pointers. It makes sense. Yeah, that's awesome though.
Yeah, and
so you got your ass kicked.
And within 6 months, like I guess he saw something in me. Within 6 months, he gave me a nail bag and he's like, "Hey, get up on the roof and start driving nails." Mm-hmm. And he did everything old school. So we were hand driving nails. We were hand driving the decking down, and we didn't use a staple gun, staple decking down or anything like that. It was, everything was by the book with this guy.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough. The first job that I landed, I think I rocked with Norman for probably 15 years.
Nice. Okay.
So I learned the ins and outs with his son.
But you started with luxury builds right off the jump.
Yeah, right.
So you were learning how to do everything the right way, like no cutting corners or anything.
Yeah, I would say after probably a year and a half, he walked in a room. We were hanging some trim. And it was me and his son in the room. He's old man, drank Mountain Dew and smoked Benson and Hedges. He had a growly voice like me. And he sat down in the back room and he just watched us. If you ever, I don't like people watching me work, but he sat there. He didn't say it to Bubba. He said it to me. He said, "Hey," he said, "if you'll stick with this, you'll go places." He said, "You got it in you." And he just got up and he left the room. So that was the first time I think a man, of stature in my eyes had really spoken some life into me and was like, "Hey," and at that point it went from making $5 an hour at 17 years old, to a career, because I was like, man, this guy believes in me. And, I'm watching what he does and the customers he's working with. And I'm like, if he can believe in me, then, the possibilities are endless. So,
yeah. Well, have you done since then? I mean, so you did those luxury residential builds that long, and then when did you start getting into this commercial stuff? I feel like that's all you're doing now, huh?
Well,
a lot of commercial stuff.
I actually do some residential. It's mainly on like a friend basis, or I'll give a plug to John Michael Fleming.
Yeah,
he'll send me some stuff every now and then that he can't get to, that we'll take on, and we'll kind of talk it out and figure out if it's something in my lane or not. I like the commercial end because people understand product for money.
Right.
Whereas residential homeowners, a lot of times
they have unrealistic expectations, bro.
They look at Pinterest the night before they want to change it, and they don't understand the work you've already, and the money and the time that's already invested into what you actually put on a piece of print. Mm-hmm. But no, I mean, my main lane is commercial, but we do residential as well. And residential, I probably turned down 30 residentials last year because I just wanted to do commercial.
Yeah.
It's nice. God's blessed us to get to a point to where we're able to, I don't want to say pick and choose. Let's just say that he's blessed us with the opportunity to be able to really get to know our customers and the people we work for, and decide who we want to work for.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to be more diligent and picking up more of the residential and stuff like that. I got a wife. I got some kids. They want a swimming pool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's some things. So I mean. We've been fortunate, but yeah, main lane is commercial. 15 years really in the home building, and then went out on my own with some bar tools out of my ex-wife's Mustang, in the back, in
nice.
the trunk. Yeah, and she would drop. We had a car we were sharing.
Yeah,
she would drop me off.
How old were you?
Man, so I was probably 25, 26 at that time.
What was your lifestyle then?
Dude, I was a dope head. I'm not gonna lie to you.
No, let's talk about it. Yeah, so
I was
because that comes
I was like $160.
That comes in that industry, right? You see it a lot.
Yeah,
unfortunate.
Which is why I love what I do now, because I'm able to look at people face to face that are in that situation and say, "Hey, like, you don't always have to live this way." You know what I mean? Like I'm living proof. Like, so the best feeling in the world is when we did Fuzzies. Okay, there was a money guy out of Wisconsin or somewhere. Mm-hmm. And Drew, super nice guy. I didn't know his uncle. Never met him, but right as we were finishing the build, I didn't know his uncle was coming to town. Well, I walk in one day, dressed like this, dirt all over me, gym clothes, like this is how I go to work, because if I got to jump in there, I'm jumping in there. This is what I do. And walk in there, and I walk around, and we've got like 25 guys working in there finishing this thing up. I'm telling everybody, Drew's like, "Hey, man, come over here and meet my uncle." So I walked over and shook his hand. He said, I said, "Man, Dustin Jones." He said his name. I forgot what it was. He said, "This is our contractor?" He looks at Drew. "This is our contractor?" And I was like, man, what'd you expect? Polos and cowboy boots? And he said, yeah, kind of. You know, I said, nah, man, what you see is what you get, you know. So you got to lead by example. So if you see me out riding around, I'm either in the truck doing paperwork or headed to the next job. And we got some great souls, man, and we get out there. And I still get in line and get out there and work with them sometimes. It keeps me young and healthy. And,
Yeah.
you know, lead by example, and the subs, they follow through. So it's fun, man. We've been all over the state. I think we went from the car, sharing the car.
Yeah, what happened to the drugs thing? Like, what happened there? Like, how did that work? How did the drugs thing start?
So, in full disclosure, Bubba, the one I was talking about, his dad that gave me the job, I was selling weed for him when I was like 14, 15 years old.
Okay.
So, you know, I knew Bubba through the neighborhood guys, but he was years older than me. Me and Bubba worked for me up until the P-Road when he got cancer. So me and Bubba, you know, we'd been through a lot together.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the drugs started with 14, 15, and it was really just some pot smoking and just stupid stuff.
Yeah.
You know, drinking beer. I think I was 18, making $6, $7 an hour, and the only one driving a BMW around town, you know, to the job site. I'm not gonna say how I acquired that car.
Yeah.
My grandma loaned me the money.
Okay.
And I mean, man, I remember, so in the barred car, I remember driving one day, headed to work, and man, I mean, when I tell you I was a dope head, I was a dope head. I was strung out.
Meth or?
Man, yeah, so speed was my thing.
Right.
But pills too.
Pills,
yeah.
gotcha.
Like I could eat enough pills in a day to kill a horse.
So you go
like
up and down, or just like?
Yeah,
you
no,
got
I needed to be up,
balance.
and then I had to bring myself down.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it had gotten to a point where, you know, and I don't want to do this on the airways. I guess I can. I might as well be transparent.
It's up to you, man.
I mean, I'd gotten to a point where I was eating, you know, like methadone wafers, and a couple Oxycontin 80s a day, you know, on top of probably like 10 or 12, you know, Lortabs, you know, enough to probably put a horse down. But I'd built up a tolerance, you know, and man, I'd go to work like that every day, you know. I remember driving in the car one day. I remember I said this prayer. My oldest boy had just been born, and I said this prayer. I said, Lord, I said, don't let me die like this. Because I know there's only so long you can live like that. You know, I've seen it with my friends. I've seen a lot of friends pass. I'm sure you've known people in your past, stuff like that. You know, so, man, yeah, I like to party. I like to have fun. But, you know, man, that was a prayer that I prayed constantly. Going down Highway 169, we lived out in Morningsport at that time. And that was a prayer that I always prayed. It's like, Lord, don't let me go out like this. You know what I mean? Like, and that's all I knew how to pray. You know, I didn't want to live that way. But man, the detox and a family, and you got to keep doing it. You know what I mean? Like you got to get up and be in the repetitive system.
Yeah, there's no time for the downtime. There wasn't no time for that.
No,
right.
Like,
there's no time for what comes with that.
I got a kid that's just born that's got a disability.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's my first son. I've got a child that's just born, you know, with a disability, and you know, here I am. Sharing a car with my wife with borrowed tools from friends, and a builder ran nicely. Actually, Charles Nicely's brother had gotten my name somehow, and called me, gave me 4 houses, and I was like, I don't have any insurance. He's like, I don't care. I heard you're good. Trim them out, you know. And so I trimmed them out, and I would stay. She would drop me off. I'd pack, you know, a couple sandwiches, chips. She'd drop me off at 7 in the morning. I'd work till 10:30 at night with lights. She would pick me up, and I did that. I even worked a half a day the first year that I went into business for myself. I worked a half a day on Thanksgiving until it was lunchtime.
Yeah.
So when I started my business was out of a shared car, borrowed tools, no insurances, sack lunches, and you know, kicking the holidays aside.
Yeah.
But that's what it took, man. But everywhere I went, like, people believed in me. They saw something in me. Britt Schultz, Jody at Classic Stone, used to own Classic Stone. Now she has the Granite Studio.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay, so Donnie and me grew up together.
Okay, gotcha.
Julie. I was doing one. Britt's house was one of the first 4 Rand gave me. And I didn't know he had a granite, but he walked in one evening at like 9 o'clock that night, and I'm still in there working. He's like, hey, he introduces himself, and he's, man, what are you doing? Still working. I was like, man, I heard y'all are on timeline for the bank. Like, I got to get it done. He said, you work by yourself? I said, I do right now. He's like, where's your car? Like, where's your truck? And I was like, man, I said, I share a car with my wife. I said, she'll be here to give me a 10.
Yeah. He
said, well, have you been looking for a truck? I said, man, there's one down the road from the house, old 7.3 diesel. I said, it looks like crap, but it runs good, And he said, well, how much do they want for it? I said, man, they want $5,000 for it. And he was like, all right. And we kind of walked through the house a little bit. He told me, custom pieces he wanted done. And he left. I went back to work, and he walked in like 5 minutes later. He said, what was your name again? I said, Dustin Jones. And he wrote down on a check my name. He said, here's $5,000. He said, go buy that truck. I said, man, I can't pay you back. He said, don't worry about it. I own Classic Stone. He said, we do kitchen and bath remodels. He said, I want you to be my carpenter. So that's how I got my first work truck.
There you go. And a signing bonus at the same time.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So, man, and then that carried me into, meeting those people, when you meet somebody and you treat them right, the name always goes further. Man, it wound up apartment complexes in Thibodaux, golf courses and townhouses in Lafayette. I went over to Monroe and built the VA for Joe Holyfield Construction, and then did some office buildings with Holyfield. We teamed up. I was a sub of his, but I was his frame contractor at that time.
Yeah.
Man, it led to a lot of good things and a lot of good people, down the road. And just like this deal here, it all came through friends, through Doug.
Yeah.
Through Gino, stuff like that. It was just people would call and say, like, hey, man, I need some help. I remember, they call, they're like, hey, man, we need help. And we got to build these firewalls. City's busting our rear ends on it, for better terminology. And can you come help us out? And I walked in. I'm like, dude, y'all got a mess. I was, man, we sat down and we talked. And when this whole thing first started, I think Bo, Doug, I think everybody, Peanut, everybody's pretty much covered it, man. I think everybody was running around in like wife beaters and dirty shorts, trying to figure out how to make it work. And I walk in, I'm like, hey, man, I got you. Don't worry about it. I said, just let's get done with this. Y'all make a little bit of money. I got some work going on over here. I said, y'all are my boys. We're going to take care of you. And I said, we get it back, we get it back. If we don't, we don't. No big deal. And that's the way most of this stuff's gone, man. Like, I've gotten calls from Bo at, 10, 12 o'clock at night. Doug, same thing, but also birthday parties. Doug's there, Bo's there.
Yeah.
They become family. And a lot of the old circle, most of the old circle is gone. And my circle's very small. Bo, I think when me and Bo met each other, we didn't know what to think of each other. I really don't think Bo liked me. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Bo liked me. And I think Bo would probably tell you, like, he was a bit skeptical. You're looking at me and you're thinking, like, I'm going to put this much money and this much faith in this guy right here. You know what I mean? For good reason, he should have been. I wouldn't expect anybody to question anything. But he was, let's just say Bo was skeptical. And it took some working through a couple of jobs and me finding some solutions. And then we had a hiccup where there was some money that was allocated for something that didn't get to where it was supposed to go. And I had to man up and go to Bo and say, hey, this money's gone. I'm going to eat it. And I think that was the day Bo realized I was on his side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was the day that Bo's like, okay, like, because, man, Bo, like, for a year was probably, like, scratching his head, like, man, like, what are we doing? And sometimes I still think down here, like, man, what are we doing? Like, but, man, it's been fun. We got 17 jobs on the book right now. We got some stuff we flipped up in Benton from residential to commercial. Fixed to start working on doing some white boxing up there. We got 7 tap coming in. We got a few houses. We've got some remodels and some build outs on the residential end. El Petrillo on Airline Drive. fixing to do them a big brick patio, and redo their parking lots and all that for them. Man, I could sit here and go on and on about the work we have. And obviously today we kind of rescheduled, and I'm like, man, I'm busy and I didn't want to leave you hanging. But
yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, man, I've been running and gunning since 4:30 this morning, and I enjoy it. Like, I mean, so where I was addicted to drugs, now I'm addicted to like Jesus and business.
What time? At what point did that shake off? Like, when were you able to cut that?
So those prayers I was praying.
Yeah.
My son, it was a very toxic relationship, and you probably know, as old as you are by now, whoever you're running with,
yep,
is most likely going to be who you're like.
Yep.
And the relationship was toxic. I knew I had to get away from it. My decision to walk out, I did. And I did what I thought was best for my son. And I'm not going to lie to you, it was a tough road to hoe. I started making some better decisions, and I just decided one day that enough was enough. Like, I think if you live with the pigs long enough, eventually you want to get clean. And that's a freaking, like, I get sick to my stomach thinking about the lifestyle I used to live.
Me too. I do too, man.
Like, I mean, the party scene,
yeah.
Man, I'll say it on here. Like, I mean, I've done stupid stuff with women. Like,
yeah.
I mean, just across the board. The way I was living was not right at all. And I hated myself for it because I knew there was a better way to live. I did. I went through detox and still worked, which sucked completely for like a month. And I got better, man, but I never really, and I'm going to speak freely, man. I never came to the knowledge of the Lord until years ago. I was sitting in my carport at the time. And I remember I was smoking a cigarette. I was still smoking, smoking a cigarette, looking at the front of the truck. And I remember still seeing my life to this day. And I told God, I was mad at God. I told God, I said, if this is all there is to life, is waking up, going to work, and paying bills, I said, I don't want to live it. Flicked the cigarette out, hit the neighbor's house, sparks go everywhere. Walked inside, got in the shower, took a shower. And I was sitting there thinking, like, man, I just got mad at God. Because, I mean, I was raised in church. I knew about the Lord. I didn't know the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And so, man, I get out, and like every great Southerner has, is a Bible on his coffee table he never reads, So I looked at that Bible, and I opened it up, and the words jumped out off the page at me. The Lord got my attention. And I looked up at the clock. It was 6 o'clock. I said, okay, Lord, you got my attention. I said, I tell you what. I said, I'll meet you here every day at 6. I'll turn my phone off. I'll set an alarm. I'll be home. I'll turn my TVs off, and I'll spend time with you. Like, I really want to get to know you. I did that for almost a year, 7 days a week. And anybody that was a part of my life at that time knew at 5 o'clock, I was headed to the house.
What type of ridicule did you get when you started doing that? Like, did you tell anybody you were doing that?
Man.
Or was it, like, had you got rid of those people that you didn't need?
It
was after that.
Most of those people were gone out of my life at that time, but there were some people that were a little bit skeptical about, what I was doing or like I would even say, at the time, Bubba wasn't a believer, But then the other side of that was I didn't really care. I've never been one to really kind of look at me. I've never been one to really conform to society's ideas of who or what you should be. I think that's kind of started in like we were talking about in school and everything else. I just did what I wanted to do, and I didn't care if it freaking hair lipped the Pope. I was going to do what I wanted to do. You can call my mama to this day and ask her; she'll still tell you. But it was the best decision I ever made. And I say that because, man, I'm a walking testimony. I can walk up to guys on the job with track marks on their arms and relate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's something to be said about that. Like, anybody can preach to someone, but if they haven't lived it, it's hard to connect. You know what I mean?
Man. So, like, let's say you're a counselor at Brentwood and you got a suit and a tie on, right?
Yeah.
You read a book and you're trying to tell me how to get clean, but I'm looking at your arms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, man, if you ain't been there, don't tell me. Don't tell me. You're not going to walk out there and tell me how to set that form.
Yeah.
I'm not going to come up here and tell you how to run a podcast or work your computer because I still work off a notebook and a pencil. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if it's the relatability, but I also believe that God put something in you, and every one of us has something to walk out and carry on and leave with our wives, with our kids, the next generation. I mean, males normally die before the females do. The husbands normally die before their wives. It's always sad to see kids go before any of the parents, which I've seen some of that in my life as well. But, man, you know, at the end of the day, like all this business and, man, this block, it's been great to have like a whole historical block in the heart of Bossier. You know what I mean? That I put my hands on everything. Like, I love that. None of it compares to the way I get to live and the people I get to talk to and the conversations I get to have with people on a daily basis. Because coming from me, when you see me, you don't really know me until you sit down and get to talk to me.
Yeah.
I'm very reserved. And I think we've crossed paths through social media around here, all that, but we've never had a face-to-face.
No, it's the first time. It's the first time.
And you would have probably never thought we'd had this conversation.
No. But that's the beautiful thing about it, right? When you sit down with someone who actually wants to hear what you have to say, either side, you know what I mean? Right. It's funny how that just it flows into whatever, right? Yeah.
Man, it does. And so the only thing I can relate it to is this. Man, we're in such a fast-paced society, and especially like in building and when you have a lot of jobs going on, stuff like that, man, you can take your eyes off the prize. What I've learned is my prize is being able to do exactly what I'm doing to you right now. Share a piece of my life, tell you how I got here. People want to know, like, man, how did you buy that property and not have a mortgage and not, you know, not have all this stuff and you know what I mean, not have all the banknotes hanging over your head and all that. Dude, I can't tell you. All I can tell you is I got mad at God. I flicked a cigarette. I spent a year getting to know the Lord, not know about the Lord, but actually like get in quiet time and like pray and get to know God himself. I'm an Old Testament guy. A lot of people like the New Testament because that gives you like grace to go out there and, you know, sin, which Paul says we can't.
No, that Old Testament will whoop your ass though.
But yeah, so that's the great thing about it. So people don't understand, man. The Bible says God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. God didn't change. Yeah. God sent Jesus to the cross because we needed it. If not, we were all damned. But at the end of the day, man, like I love the Old Testament God. Like I like the hammers and the lightning bolts,
fire and brimstone.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know. And man, that's how I live my life. You know, everything I do, I put before the Lord. If I bid a job, I'll pray over it, submit it. If it's supposed to be mine, I'll get it. If not, I don't want it. And that's the way I live my life, you know. And it's fun to be able to bump into people. So every day I get to meet somebody new and tell them a little bit more about me, you know, and who I am as a person and how I live my life and how I try to, you know, get my family to live their lives as well, you know, as the dad, as the husband, you know, the provider of the house. You know, the Lord calls us to a higher standard. We need to lead our houses in the right way. And, you know, I don't know how you believe. You could believe in Satan and worship Satan for all I know. All I know is I'm called to love you the way the Bible calls me to.
Right.
Not saying that you do.
I don't.
But I'll say this, like, I can look back now and I can say, you know what, my daughter knows I wake up early and I spend time with the Lord. My daughter knows that at 6 o'clock in the morning, from 6 to 6:30, I'm watching the prayer meeting that the church does online. She's heard me pray over her. Now she prays. Now I'm watching my daughter pray. I'm getting to stand in the hallway when she goes to bed and listening to her say her prayers because me and my wife had led by example, you know. Man, and pass it down to the next generation because at the end of the day, you, me, him, we're all going in the dirt. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. So, well, I think it's funny how you think, like, I'm not in the same industry as you, and I haven't lived the same life as you. But I'm the type of person I have 3 different businesses, working on 4, going in different directions, 24/7. Right. This is just a hobby of mine. I enjoy doing it, but I am a creature of chaos. If chaos is not going on, I'm not comfortable. And I think the thing that gives me the most anxiety, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but you seem like you could, is sitting still. Like if you're not in prayer, you're not doing something with your family, but if you're just by yourself and you have nothing going on, that freaks me the fuck out because I have to be having a problem to resolve or something, you know?
Yeah, man. I think I was that way, and I wanted to put out fires all the time. Like I ran around like a fireman.
Yeah.
But the other side of that is I got to a spot where when I would start talking to people, and I'm no counselor by any means. I'm not Dr. Phil. I'm not that guy. But if you want to call me on the phone and talk about real stuff in real life, like I'm gonna be an open book with everybody. Because my life is not out here to build my business or anything like that. It's to make sure that I can steer people the way I went and show them that, like, man, if you'll sell the farm, you do not realize how many good things God has for you. Is it going to be easy? No, it's not at all. But if you'll sell the farm and give it all up and come to a place of surrender where you say, like, I've had enough, I can't do it on my own, I don't want to live anymore if it's living like this, I don't suggest you pray that prayer, but if you come to that spot and you turn around and you start praying and putting it before the Lord and watching what he does in your life, man, I promise you, like I would give you my business if you would sell the farm, give it all to God, and came back and told me it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
I'll tell anybody that.
Well,
I'll give you everything I own. I'll sign the papers to my truck over the whole 9 yards. If you can tell me living for God ain't worth it.
Well, I think the few individuals I've talked to, and it's not maybe one or two on this show, including you, who has told me that. I mean, I believe it. I'm not skeptical of that because I've seen it happen multiple people when they really. There's a lot of people that say that, right? Yeah. But they're really not doing it. But the ones you can tell really have done it, or the ones who have come. It's always it's interesting how the people who've come from a situation that you were in and completely turn your life around and then put everything into that and then look what's flourished, right? There's a handful of people I know that's done that, and I believe them. It's not something that I don't believe.
Man, and the great thing is, like, you're going to catch me out there cussing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
excuse me for cussing. No,
I
cuss
a
lot. I cuss a lot.
So this is the best thing about it. This is not about the do's and the don'ts.
Yeah.
Like, that's the great thing. Like, everybody lives this, like, rigid, structured Christianity thing that's going. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you got to play by the rule book. Man, there is no rule book. The only rule book we have is the Bible, right?
Yeah.
And then all I can say is, like, so you're married.
Yeah.
You fell in love with your wife,
right?
How much do you love your wife? And now we're on air, so you got to be
more than anything, man. More than anything, dude.
So now I'm doing a podcast. So you love your wife. She could come to you, and if it's for her good, you would do anything
100%
possible to make it happen, right?
Yeah.
It's like that living for the Lord, man.
Yeah.
And as much as we love our wives, we can't understand how much more he loves us.
Yeah.
Like, and I love, man, my wife is like on a pedestal built on top of another pedestal.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But there's one thing that I know the order of my life goes is God, my wife, my kids, my business. As long as I keep the structure right, everything flows good. If I start getting out of line, it'll show up somewhere.
Yeah.
It'll show up somewhere. And the chaos thing, I learned a long time ago, man, a lot of people thrive in chaos and they want to be in chaos. And I think it's just subconsciously, like, most of those people, and I'm no psychologist or anything like that. I've known a few like that. And, man, they grew up in troubled houses where, maybe the mom and the dad fought a lot, or the dad was physical, towards the mom, put his hands on the mom, or whatever it was. They grew up in that chaos, and something internally, subconsciously, if there's not something going on, then I got to make something go on. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, people just aren't happy being happy, just living your life and doing your thing.
Yeah.
Like,
and I could say in my younger, like now I'll be 34 next in a month or so. But yeah, like now it's like used to for the longest time. That's how it had to be. Now it's like you have family and kids, and so it's not so much that anymore for me. More it's like sometimes when I have a chance to take a break, I don't know what to do with myself. Right. You know what I mean? Right, yeah. But I do appreciate the break, But I'm just one of those people that, like, once I conquer something, I want to conquer something else now. Used to be, it was always trying to do something in this.
Man,
this,
yeah,
and
that's good because people our age, we're in our earning years.
Yeah.
We're establishing the latter half of our lives at this point.
Exactly.
And then, I think you got kids. You got kids?
Yeah, we have 2.
Yeah, so, I mean, man, we got to leave a legacy.
Yeah, you spend the first half of your life just messing up and trying to figure it out, right?
I mean, I don't even think I matured till I was like 32.
I don't think I matured until like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
I mean, and I'm still maturing today. You know what I mean? That's the cool thing about life. But yeah, man, like now, like my brain operates differently. It's like get up, spend the time with the Lord. Drink your coffee. Try to go get a 30-minute train in. It's not like it used to be 4 or 5 years ago when I could train all the time. Life gets in the way. You get married, you get fat, you get complacent. I'm good with it. You know what, man? Meal prep's awesome, but I'd rather have a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm to that point in my life. I've done enough meal prep to where...
I don't think... I'm almost there. I'm not far behind you.
Yeah, I've done enough meal prep in my life to where, like, I could care less. You know, if I'm a little chunky, hey, so what? If you don't love me for it, sorry, bro.
Yeah.
Like, but... man, this is the way I look at it. Like, I get up and do what I do every day because, first off, God allows me to open my eyes and take my breath in the morning. He's given me a talent that I'm able to come out here and do. I've got probably 100 guys underneath me that know who I am, know what I'm about, know how I live my life. They may not live like that, but they're watching me.
Yeah.
And then I've got those kids watching me. I've got my wife watching me. And at the end of the day, when this whole thing's sewed up, wrapped, and done, and they stick me in the pine box, dude, I'm going to be a happy man because I've accomplished more than I ever thought I would. I mean, that's what I'm realizing. And I'm still young. And I'm still growing in business. I'm still learning. I've learned a ton from Doug and Bo, like business-wise, like being business-minded.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned a ton from those 2 guys. I mean, we're like Bubba, man. Me and him, we've known each other since we was freaking kids, I love him to death. He's still my brother. He can call me at any time. I'll be there for him. But, man, like I will say, like Bo and Doug have become 2 of my best friends. And we don't even call each other and talk about this. We talk about life, our wives, our kids, things that are, real life situations because, man, I look up to them. You know what I mean? And for some reason, they look up to me. I don't know why, but they ask my opinion as well.
It's a respect thing, man. Each one of these people down here, I think that's why we all relate so well, is because you have people that come in and out of this block, move around, and you have all types of people crossing paths. You're crossing paths with every day, but like you've been through something, you've overcome something, and you've turned pretty much nothing into something. Yeah, that's what every person down here can relate to. So that you form mutual respect over that. You have to. You know,
man. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of brainstorming. It's a lot of putting a lot of what you got on the line for a dream, and that's what it is. It looked like a pipe dream at first. I remember when we were getting the stage ready for Party Gras. Yeah. and we're like 2 weeks away, and I got a big mound of dirt out here. Yeah. And you got 4 different pours to actually get that thing up, just to a platform before you get any of the rest of the crap on there. And, man, I mean, I've been in some tight spots, but that's probably the tightest. Then it went to raining. And Bo looks at me, he's like, well, what are we going to do? I'm like, man, go buy all the poly you can. I said, we'll cover the dirt. And I said, when it quits raining, I said, we'll flip it and keep freaking working. And, that's been our mentality through the whole deal. We'll come up with a number and be like, hey, like, do you think we can get this done for this? I'm like, well, if you'd give me another $200,000, I could really make it, like, freaking awesome. Yeah. But, yeah, man, we can redneck this thing all the way out. Like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not above rednecking anything either, man. And this thing, like, it's got a good flow. Even like the podcast room, I was like, a podcast room? Like, what are you going to do with a podcast room? Like, and then here you are, you're sitting up here being able to exercise part of your dream.
Yeah, man. It's
You know,
yeah.
you told me this is a hobby for you.
Right.
You know, so I mean, and I guess you do barbecue as well.
Yeah, man.
I've been seeing some of
marketing,
that.
barbecue, equipment rentals. I do all kind of crap, bro.
I got
But this is what I truly enjoy. Like if I could do this and make money, I would hands down
Yeah.
wipe all that
So
away.
let's get you into that position, man.
Yeah, that's part of it, man. But the greatest thing for me about this is that every time I get done with one of these, I take a piece away from it that I didn't have before I sit down.
Right.
You know, and it's not about me. It's about who's sitting across from me.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like, I don't want to be on here talking about me. I want to talk about, converse and, find, mutual topics that we can discuss and then learn something about someone. But I feel like every time someone sits in here, like you're doing today, and they get up and leave, and I feel some type of way. Like, I'm always like, oh, damn, I learned so much from that, conversation. But at the same time, they can go sit down, walk away, and know that is going to be put out and everyone's going to listen to it and they're probably going to take something away from it. Like just what you talked about, just the struggles you've been through, someone can relate to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if this reaches one person that enjoys it,
hit me up on Facebook if y'all want to talk about it.
There you go. There you go.
Private message me. You don't even like it, I promise you everything. Like it'll never go. You know how many secrets I hold in my head right now? Like,
yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the way I live my life, man. It's good. I mean, I love what you're doing up here. Like when Bo said podcast room, I'm like, man, what are you thinking? Again, you know what I mean? Again.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, and I can't say enough about the people down here. Man, I've seen the support from the community. Just even, the shooting that they had, the Valero, the community came out and supported that. And all the good things that Doug and Bo and Peanut and everybody down here on this block put together to try to help the community. Man, it really is a neat thing to watch because I do remember when we were standing out behind Bojack's and Bayou Axe down there, scratching a broke you-know-what, looking around, talking about building the P-Road. You know what I mean? Like, and everybody's like, we're all just kind of just sitting back there. They started the spitball idea, and then I got drug into it. And dude, I mean, it's been a fun ride, and it ain't over yet. Like, I mean, we're just getting started. Like, I don't think people understand. We're just
man, you're just literally you're creating milestones. Like, I feel like one milestone to the next. Like every single thing that you guys touch turns to gold, and I don't think and here's the most important about that thing. About that being said is I'm saying gold, but it's not about the money.
No, because we like to have there's one thing I can say about Doug, Bo, and Peanut. We all think a lot alike, okay?
Yeah.
If you have an open hand, God can bless you. But if you're trying to hold on to something too tight, man, first commandment, thou shalt not have any other gods before me. The Bible also says the love of money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
Not money, but the love of money. Money's a good thing to have if the resources are used right.
Of course. I completely agree.
When you have people with their morals and their values that believe a certain way, that want to walk a certain way, that want to do good for people, that truly want to do good with expecting no return at all, man, that's somebody God will use every time. Yeah,
you're not using like people that are represented by money.
No.
If you're judged, I mean, if you walk in and you have the flashiest car, the flashiest clothes, and pocket full of money, or the nicest handbag,
I got a good looking truck, but
But what I'm saying is like those type of individuals you're right. If you're in love with that, if you're in love with the money, and you're not actually doing anything with it, then what's the point of even having it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're so wrapped up in just having it and not doing anything with it.
There's no fulfillment in it.
Right, I agree.
It's when okay. So how high can I get my bank account? I mean, is that what the goal is? Like, what number are you going to be fulfilled at?
Yeah.
Nah, dude. The best fulfillment I've got is kicking off some Air Jordans to a guy at Brookshire's, a bag boy that had holes in the shoes of his feet. And I asked him what size he wore. He told me 11 and a half. A little black kid. And, I freaking kick off my shoes and I was like, try them on, man. He tried them on. I said, do they fit? He said, yeah. I said, keep them, man. Drove home in my socks. And then I thought, man, his mama gonna whoop this rear end thinking he done
think he
stole
stole
them
them,
shoes. Yeah. But man, like those are the things I live for. Man, I'm not gonna brag on my wife. My wife does so much, like just behind the scenes. And then again, I don't tell a lot of stories because, man, I believe that don't let the right hand know what the left hand's doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Never want to be boastful or proud about it. Always trying to be as humble as possible, you know.
That's another important thing. Like the people, most of the time, if people are trying to brag about something or say, like there's so many people that do the right thing because they want the
they want to be seen.
They want the recognition of the right
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But the ones that seem to shine through the most and have the most impact are the ones that are doing something when no one's watching.
Yeah, so like you got these YouTubers out there that run around the grocery store trying to buy people groceries. Man, just pay for somebody's groceries because you want to pay for somebody's groceries.
not to get the views.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's kind of, I mean, because people are subscribing to your YouTube channel, so basically they're buying the groceries for the person you're buying groceries for.
You're right. You're not buying them.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, man, like if you want to just bless somebody, just bless them, man, and walk on.
Yeah.
Like let the Lord deal with it. Like that's the, and I guess that's the way I live my life. And I know I keep talking about God, man, but you know, when your glass is full and you bump into people, sometimes it spills out.
No, that's fine, man. I mean, I'm not the type of person that, like, I don't get too much in a religion talk on here because here's my thing. Here's how I look at it. And I believe in a higher power, and I'm not one against anything. I see it as you do good things happen. Right. And you do bad things happen. Right. And if you look at all religions, I don't think one religion's better than the other. Everyone has their own religion. They have the way they believe, but I feel like that's all still the ultimate message. And everyone has a handbook that they go by, but I feel like the people who are really following a good path are living by those rules.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's something to be said.
And it's evident in their life.
You know, I'm not for the people that try to push something on someone and say that they're living wrong because they're not doing something right. I think that it's more you have the way you want to live and you live it. You know what I mean?
Oh man, so that's a cool thing. Like I was telling you're still gonna hear me cuss.
Yeah.
You're still gonna see me with the dip in my mouth. You're still, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not saying I'm not working on those things at all.
Well, there's always something to be worked on, man.
But man,
never gonna be.
You know, man. I had a trim carpenter that worked for me, and man, he was letting the words go, and he was like, "Man, I'm sorry," you know, and we're working on Country Tavern, and I was like, "What are you sorry for?" He's like, "Man, cussing." He's like, "I've been around you 3 weeks. I've never heard you say a cuss word," but it opened the door for me to share some of the stuff that I've shared with you.
Yeah. And
he looked at me and he was like, "Man, I'd have never thought it." You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I guess that's the cool thing about living it. And man, I know what I'm called to, and what I'm called to is just to love people and be a light and let people watch me go about my business and do what I do. Whether you watch in silence or you want to come ask me and talk to me, I'm good with either. The one thing I do know is that people will look at me and say, "How can he move so fast without making mistakes?" I don't know.
You're still trying to figure that out.
I don't know. The only thing I can say is, like, I put it before God himself.
Yeah.
Before I make a move, you know. And to me, that's the secret to my success. Like, there's no magic formula for this other than getting up and being diligent with what I have in front of me today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I really didn't need to be here today, but I'd made a promise to you. And you know what? I'm not going to break that promise. You know, I got 100 other things I could be doing right now, but I wanted to be here because I'd given you my word.
Yeah.
That I was going to be here. And I'm not the type of person, I don't want to go back on my word. And you can ask anybody that knows me, I'm loyal to the core. Like, I'm one of those people, like my partners from 25 years ago, they still my partners.
Yeah.
And we may not have spoken 10 years, but, you know, don't talk bad about them. If you bring them up in conversation, I'll be quick. You know, I'm not quite as rowdy as I used to be.
Yeah.
But I'll be quick to say, hey, like, you know, I'll point them to the word, man.
Yeah.
Just give them something out of Proverbs where it says, you know, we ain't supposed to be gossiping, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, you know what I mean? Like, you know, just kind of lay it on them like that now. I don't know. It's a fun life, man. It's fun. You never know. Like, I walked into this thing being a little nervous, kind of what to expect. You know, this really ain't me. This isn't what I do.
Yeah.
I don't do podcasts, you know. And, man, I'm enjoying myself.
Well,
And then I got to unplug from that for a little while too. You know what I mean?
I mean, you get to unplug from that. You get to talk about real stuff, man. This is not a loaded conversation. It's not. Yeah. We're not loaded scripting out questions here. It's more like, hey, man, look what you've been through, what you doing, how'd you get there?
Man, this is me. Like this is me, and I love I'm so thankful for what we have as a business and as a family. But I had this conversation the other day with one of my electricians. I said, man, do you ever just miss getting on your tools and working, And he's like, yeah, all the time. Because this thing is just exponentially just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. So whatever I'm doing right. Yeah. You know what I mean? But then again, that goes back to a lot of Doug and Bo and running ideas past them, how do I, Bo's like, man, go buy a computer. I'm like, dude, I can't even turn my iPhone on. You know what I mean? I'm still stuck in the Stone Age. You go to my truck, I got 3 notebooks. Yeah. My wife runs a computer. So we're fortunate enough that she was able to retire, and either, I don't know if she's working for Dustin Jones Construction or if she's a full-time shopper at Target. I don't know what's going on right now. All I know is yesterday we had some stuff to do, and I think she spent about 4 hours with my mom at a boutique shopping for clothes. So yeah, she's supposed to be working for me, but I'm pretty sure she got a side deal with Target, the plant section at Home Depot, a couple of the boutiques around town. I mean, she's doing her thing, man. And you know what? I love her for that. She needs to. She deserves it. She's worked a long time, put in a lot of hours working for the state. And man, she deserves it. And she's got to put up with me at the end of the day. You can imagine all this stuff and the stress sometimes you fall under.
Oh yeah.
Man, you know how many times I bring that home and I lay that on my kids or my wife.
They're drinking it up too.
Man, it'll hurt your heart when you stop and really think about it. And I got to go back to her and be like, hey, I'm wrong, but I do. I carry my work home all the time. Yeah. Yesterday was one of those days, man. Like I said, worked till 8:30. I was back up at 4:30 this morning, but 8 o'clock and the rain had kind of stopped, and went to the front door, and my daughter at the back end of the door where the door opened, they got her pinky in there and was looking out of the door. She's about to be 6, and I shut the door, man. Oh. I couldn't even eat dinner. My heart was broke. Yeah. I hurt my little girl. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it was one of those things, when it happened, it was everything that had compounded through the day. At that point, I was like, I've had enough. You know what I mean? Literally looked at my wife kill somebody. But, man, I just, my wife always gives me that look, hey, it's going to be okay. Or she'll say, hey, why don't we all come in here and do something else? You know what I mean? Let's get out of the room for a little while. They call me Diesel, so that's my nickname. So let's let Diesel chill a little bit. Yeah. So, it's stressful, hectic. It's fun. I live for it. I thrive in it. The harder it is, the more fun I have with it. Anybody can lay out a plate. Anybody can stand up a wall. 50% of them can cut rafters. But give me some custom pieces. And give me something to think about. Or give me a number amount and tell me how much square footage you want. And watch me go to work. Yeah. That's the fun part. To me.
No, I mean,
it's the challenge.
I believe you. I think that shines through. I think that's important. I think that so many people in your industry and your business get caught up in just, running, getting these big jobs, these big commercial jobs where everything looks exactly the same, or these big spec jobs where they can just lay out all these same plans, and then it just the craftsmanship goes out the window at that point. It's just who's the bottom bidder and who can get the job done the cheapest. And then at the end of the day, I mean, do you have any fulfillment in the work you're doing? It's just about the paycheck.
Right. And then the other side of that is the bottom bid apples to apples. Yeah. Who are you working with? Mm-hmm. Are you going to have a good working relationship with them? There's a lot of things to consider when you're talking about what you're going to do building a project. Because you're not only building a project, you're building a relationship. Most contractors, when they walk off a job, can't go back to the restaurants and sit down and eat.
You're right. You're exactly right. Yeah.
And I'll run around this place like I'm part owner, and I'm not. What I mean?
Most of them aren't here. They come and they go. A lot of times, if something's wrong. Yeah. They're gone.
And I mean, a lot of contractors will leave a bad taste in people's mouth.
Yeah.
But man, when it comes to me and what I do, I'm an open book. Like if you want to see the numbers, I'll show you the numbers. If you want me to tell you how to get there, I can tell you how to get there. If you want me to tell you how to cut a corner, I'll tell you how to cut a corner. I don't suggest it. But those are all things that people have to take into account when you're working with a dream and a pile of money this big.
Yeah.
But you got a dream this big.
Yeah.
So how can I make this turn into this? I don't know, man. Let's go to the drawing board and figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I got a call from Bo, and he's like, "Hey, man, we have X amount of dollars. I want to do chef's table. Do you think we can make it work?" So I know we can make it work. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of, that's been the story with me and Bo. Doug, he expanded over into Ruston with Bayou Axe, and from what I understand, they've been freaking slaying it over there.
Yeah.
Doug, same thing. Like, hey man, like, how do we get it done? They trust me. They lean on me. And man, as much as they lean on me, I don't think they realize that I lean on them. And I don't lean on them for the building because Bo's actually learned a lot about construction. He really has. Doug knows a lot about construction, but they lean on me for those answers. Whereas, man, they don't understand. Like in life, sometimes I'm leaning on them.
Yeah.
Because they're my partners, they're my boys, or my family, whatever you want to call them. Like those are my people. If Doug called me at 3:30 this morning and he's like, "Hey man, we got to roll out." Okay, I'll see you at 3:31. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same thing for Bo, same thing for Peanut. There's not a lot of people I would do that for, and consider really more so than family are these guys, because you spend so much time with them. Not only do you spend the time with them here, and I don't work just here. I mean, I've got jobs in Shreveport, all over the place.
Right.
But I'm just saying, like this core group of guys down here, as fast as we went, as hard as we went in this short amount of time, everybody was stressed. We've all seen the bad sides and the ugly sides of everybody. You know what I mean? We've all seen the good sides and the generosity of everybody. But it all meshed really well, and it flowed. And how we got to a point in our lives where Bo's wife will be calling my wife saying, "Hey, we're having a surprise birthday party for Bo," or my wife surprised me. I didn't know it, but we go out to eat. She wanted to take me out to eat for my birthday, and everybody knows, Dustin Jones, he hates a crowd of people. Man, we walk in and Bo and Haley are sitting there with their kids, for my birthday. Man, Doug, I can't say enough about Doug. The conversations me and him had on the phone, just as dads, as parents. Man, everybody sees Bo or Doug down here, and they know him as Doug and Bo, and they're business owners, and that's all we sit here and talk about. Man, no, they're great men. They're freaking dads. They're great husbands. They're brothers. They're freaking amazing people. And I think your show sheds a little light into the inside of anybody who sits down across the table from you.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the time and you're honest, there's a lot that can come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't bullshit somebody for an hour.
No.
If you can, you're very, very interesting.
I can come close to it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's easy to do it in 15 minutes.
Have you
an hour.
met my wife? No.
It's easy to do it in 15 minutes, but an hour, man, that's pretty hard. Like for someone not to smell something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, man, I completely enjoyed, you sharing all that, because honestly I had no clue.
Yeah.
And whenever it got brought up, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely interested. Let's do this thing, because I want to, get to know you. And it's always good for it's weird to think about this, but there's so many people that may not listen to something until someone's associated with it,
right.
Or watch something, or I don't care anything about that, or it may be like someone trying to push motivational canned videos on somebody with
right.
the music in the back and the Morgan Freeman saying something, but sometimes people need a familiar voice, or someone they can relate to, and if they don't ever get that, they may never be opened up to whatever connection may be.
Yeah, people just need to see real, man.
Yeah.
That's the thing. As much as I can sit here and preach to you, I can fall just as fast.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? Like that's the thing I know about me, man. And it goes beyond these walls. It goes beyond this block. I try to take this everywhere I go, because it's who I am as a person, and I believe who you are as a person will eventually spill out. That's why you see Doug run the Toys for Tots and do these charity things. You see Bo and Peanut doing these charity things and all this stuff, man. It's who they are as people. And when you find like-minded people and you've been through it all, because when you're talking, the amount of money that's been spent down here,
yeah,
trust me, we've seen the good, bad, the ugly, all of us together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you go through that with people, man, you get attached. Not only have I just spent 14 hours on your job, now I'm going home and I'm talking to you about it.
Yeah.
And Doug and Bo, they don't stop. Peanut, they don't stop. They just keep going. I don't know how they do it. Like, I questioned, like, Doug's ability and Bo's ability, like how are y'all staying up, accomplishing the things you are? And one thing I do want to say, Doug, I don't know how he does what he does, but if everybody really understood what Doug does, there's not enough time of the day for the average man.
Yeah.
Doug's got businesses everywhere. He's got a wife. He's got kids. He's going to ball games. He's traveling, taking vacations. I don't even get those. Did God put you like on a 48-hour day? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't figure it out. Like, how do you get done? Like, Bo, he's a machine. Like, he's constantly just, like, sometimes I'm tired. I'm like, dude, slow down. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. It's good. It's been nice to be a part of this. It's nice to make a name for yourself. I take a lot of pride in what I do. I think that goes back to, like I said, being a contractor, being able to walk in and sit down with the people that you built for and eat in their establishment or whatever it may be. When people trust you with their businesses that support their families, or trust you to come in and build a home, their dream home, you know what I mean? You have to take that. Like, there's a lot of builders out there that look at it as a dollar bill.
Yeah, that's like 80% of them, 9% of them.
I don't. Yeah. I don't see it as a dollar bill, because you know what? I grew up on the bad end of things, and I know what it took for you to get whatever you're bringing to me. And if you want to entrust it with me, that's okay. Just understand, if you bring it to me, like, I understand this isn't a house, it's a home.
Yeah.
I understand this isn't a business. This is how you feed your kids. You know what I mean? This is how you take care of your wife. Like, I get that. So every dollar, every nail, every board, every truck of dirt that comes in, every grade that's shot, that's always in the back of my head, because I want to be able to turn the best product for the amount you brought me.
Yeah.
For your dream. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Hey, I love it, man. Look, we're over an hour. We'll wrap it up. I know you got a project you got to go finish already. It didn't take that long, bro.
Yeah, already. I got about 18 more stops to make.
I know. But I enjoyed it today, man.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Yes, sir.